Sony sponsored this unboxing of the WH-1000XM6 over-ear active noise canceling headphones with a claim that I gotta wonder, can they even legally say the best noise cancellation?
Yes.
Apparently, they went through a whole bunch of certifications and tests so that in their marketing they could say it has the best active noise cancellation. I hope I didn't break it. We have a midnight blue model here. Oh. Ah yes, made for iPhone, hey Google. Supports high-res Bluetooth audio, that's cool. What does 30 hours of battery life times 2 mean? Depends on settings, environmental conditions, and usage. Actually, that's a big deal because not only does it have an array of microphones to handle its active noise cancellation, but it has advanced processing on board that allows it to adjust the active noise cancellation in real time, contributing to an improvement that we measured in our, I have to disclaim this, draft version of our audio testing suite from the lab significantly improves over the XM5s. Not as much in the bass range, where you're gonna be cutting out the rumble of an aircraft engine or the sound of a train going over the tracks, but especially up in the mid-range. It is like, seriously, what, 15 decibels better or something like that? That is a big improvement. Sony Sound Connect, we're going to need an app because everything does. Oh yeah, buddy. You get a 3.5mm cable because, hey, Sony is one of the few manufacturers that still puts a headphone jack on their top end models. Shout out Sony's other division. Now in my tiny hands, they look like 1/4-inch jacks. As well as a charging cable that doesn't shout, I'm compensating for something. Made in Vietnam. Hey, that's convenient in the current climate. I like this little pocket for them, but not as much as I like that the XM6 mark a return to folding for Sony's over-the-ear noise canceling headphones. It just feels so thick. I do wonder if that contributes to the great sound isolation that we got out of those. To be clear, sound isolation is its ability to block outside noise before you have enabled any active noise cancellation in. Wow, they really, dude, this is like, I'm not endorsing using them for this, but this is like putting on frickin' hearing protection. Apparently this is pretty typical for headphones in this class, so maybe I'm just a little bit out of the loop, but it feels really good to me. About 30 decibels at 1,000 hertz, so that's in like your typical speaking frequency, and as low as 40 decibels or even more in the higher frequency range. But it's the ANC that we're really interested in for these, so why don't we fire them up? Actually, no. Why don't we take a closer look at them first? We have very, very light padding on the headband, though to Sony's credit, they've managed to deliver a contoured shape that doesn't dig into my head at the apex, which is something that I've run into many times in the past. And while they have what I would definitely describe as pretty solid clamping pressure, it doesn't contribute to significant discomfort for me, at least not immediately, and that's due to a couple of things. Number one is the really, really soft memory type foam that's on the ear cups here. And another thing is the adequate sizing of the ear cups. You can actually see that my ear comfortably fits inside. For me, any pressure on the top or the bottom of the lobe is an absolute deal breaker. And it's less obvious, but check this out. If I poke at the cloth in here, okay, you can see that in some spots it's solid, and that's fine because that's where my ear is deeper. But in some spots, there's actually gaps back there. So that means that it doesn't put pressure on here either, which is a major source of discomfort for me. This gives it an overall balanced head hug feel, which probably contributes to the excellent consistency that we found between mounts when we were mounting it to our hats, or head and torso simulator that doesn't have a torso. Look, I don't name these things, all right? One thing to note, by the way, is that even if you do get a bad mount, Sony has done an excellent job of using the built-in microphones to compensate for that, boosting the bass output of the headphones in the event that there is a little bit of leakage, which is causing its impact to be reduced. That's a big improvement over the last gen XM5. All right, that's a microphone button. That's a headphone jack button.
What do you mean headphone jack button?
I mean, it's a headphone jack button, fuck off. Okay, USB-C button. By the way, you can charge and listen at the same time. That's pretty handy, charge indicator. got a power button. Then we got this guy to toggle between noise canceling and ambient mode. Though it is worth noting that within the app, you can actually turn on a hybrid mode that will automatically try to adapt so that you can hear important things, but block out stuff that you don't want to hear so much, like that baby that's crying on the airplane. Me personally, I love listening to babies crying on the airplane. That's why I fly coach. Man, this is like walking into the sound chamber, yo. It's a little bit eerie. No way. Did Andrew say something just now? Okay, I know this is sponsored and all that, but holy shit. Oh man, I can hear it a little bit. Dude, I don't even have music playing yet. Okay, how's the pass through? Whoa, buddy. Especially coming out of noise cancellation, freaking isolation land. It sounds like I'm talking into a PA system and it's like being broadcast at me from the speakers everywhere. That's wild. Can it handle Bell's 90 hertz voice though? We actually found the bass extension on these was quite excellent. So it should be able to do it. Okay, Bell, let's see how natural your voice sounds.
Hello, I am speaking to you, Linus, in my normal speaking voice. I'm still talking. Do I sound normal? Only you can tell.
I can't do it that quick because it takes a second to dial in, so I can't. Hit me again.
ZYXWVUTS.
Really close. That's damn close. And then it takes like 2.5 seconds to kind of dial itself in. Oh. To be clear, I don't think it's taking 2.5 seconds. They're talking about they got what, like 12 microphones, new processor, 7 times faster, but it's more of like a hysteresis thing. They don't want to just immediately have things kick on and off because it can be quite jarring, especially with active noise cancellation. With that said, I find this ANC not super jarring to kick on for me because it has very little kind of pressure effect. And I'd say the more disconcerting thing about it is just how silent everything feels. It's like when you're watching like a space movie, okay? And the background music is going when they're inside the station or whatever, and then it cuts to them out on the spacewalk and they have that intentional cut in the background music and everything goes quiet. That's what it's like when the ANC kicks on for these. It's wild, dude. Listening mode, standard. Ooh, background music mode. The idea being that background music mode is a DSP mode that kind of makes everything sound farther away, so it's less distracting and on your ears, whereas cinema mode is meant to be like more immersive, big sound for your cinema. I don't know. Personally, I'm not big into DSP effects, but your mileage may vary. Oh, you can tell like which locations you want to hear ambient sound, or you do want to hear speech, or you want complete isolation or whatever. Speak to chat. Oh, all right, cool. All right, so when I'm like talking, it's all like, okay, it takes like a second to kick in, and then let's see if you guys say something to me.
Hi, Linus.
Yeah, okay, I can hear you.
How are you?
All right, yeah, no, I'm done with the conversation now. Oh, okay, about 15 seconds. Okay, so that gives a minute. So realistically, I mean, if someone's lecturing at you for longer than 15 seconds without you interacting with them, realistically, you probably want it to kick in anyway, so. Oh, damn, touch sensor. Nice. Just like that. So intuitive. Ooh, head gesture. Nod to accept, shake to reject. Yeah, okay, cool. Off when the headphones are removed. Okay, the whole detection of whether you're wearing them or not thing did cause some challenges in our testing. See, you can't run the ANC on these unless they detect that they are on a human head. But active noise cancellation affects the frequency response and therefore the sound quality of the headphones. So we wanted to be able to measure with ANC. So we had to actually trick it by packing one of the ear cups with like a bunch of copper tape and then just measuring the other side. Then we measured both sides to make sure that they were well matched so that we could actually trust that frequency response curve, and the results are as good as we can get them for you. Now, do I finally get to listen to them? You know, when you said the bass was overemphasized, I kind of expected a lot worse than this. No, it's pleasing. To the point where bass heads might even find themselves playing around with different EQ modes. Ooh, manual. Aw, buddy. It's really nice to have this functionality built in. You can't take it for granted. So if you want to tune them to be a little bit more thumpy, then you can. Man, you know what I like most about good noise cancellation? Is that I don't have to crank my music. I don't have to put my hearing at risk in order to clearly hear every layer of the song. I have this at what would basically be like kind of background music level, and now I am oblivious. These guys could be having a loud conversation about how much they all hate their mother-in-laws or whatever kind of shit that I don't want to know about, right? I don't care. I'm doing my thing. I would have no idea. That's pretty cool. Somebody pretend to be a crying baby. I'm gonna put up my hand when I think you're crying.
Reese.
You have to do it. This is for the production. I think I got one. What else is there in our draft labs testing? By the way, we are so open to your guys' feedback. We'll have a link down to the blog post that'll probably accompany this version of our testing, which I think is what, 0.6, something like that. Labs described the sound profile as not V-shaped, but somewhere between V-shaped and a little bit bass heavy, but even then, not bass heavy either, not bloated. I gotta tell you, my impression of the sound profile of these is that it's kind of like, it's the equivalent of watching a movie in filmmaker mode, but just a little bit more fun. No one actually really wants to listen to music day in, day out on studio monitors.
Train. Blowing horn.
Oh, okay, sure. Apparently there's a train. The microphone performance was a bright spot. There is a little bit of extra emphasis in the treble, but that's to be expected since it really wants to pick up human voices for speech and not really pick up the traffic around you. And we found that the clarity and lack of artifacts was actually quite a strong point for these. I realize now that I haven't really looked at any of Sony's talking points. This was technically a sponsored video, but we did include a lot of like labs testing and stuff. Up to 3 hours of playback on 3 minutes of charging with optional USB PD compatible AC charger. Nice. Oh, dude, I didn't even think of that the bass compensation thing could be great if you wear glasses. That totally makes sense. I was like, oh yeah, so if you suck at putting on headphones or whatever, it'll compensate for that. But no, totally, if you have, a hairstyle or if you have glasses or whatever that interferes with getting a good seal, okay, that's super cool. Subscribe to ShortCircuit. We'll have these linked down below.